When did your body betray you? It developed allergies of outrageously tasty foods after years and years of consuming and enjoying them. I feel your pain. I binged on buckets of homegrown cherry tomatoes and developed a horrific allergy to them now. The doctor said I did it to myself and now I can't have any tomato sauces. Salsas. Most soups. Most of my family foods. I'm Hispanic and Italian and we love tomatoes on both sides. It would be different if I'd never tasted the goodness. When I used to do a lot of long distance cycling I would do some leg training in the winter so I'm ready by spring. Well, one time after doing a workout, I couldn't get up from the toilet. Like my legs just stopped working. It was pretty bad. I discovered at 19 that I have a gene mutation that causes random melanoma tumors in my body. I'm 37 and I've had cancer 8 times. My meat suit is a dumpster fire. A few months before turning 24. Woke up blind on one eye. Turns out I have multiple sclerosis. Same here. I was about 33. Thought it was because I was outside the day before and it had been super bright outside. But it didn't go away after a day. Optometrist to ophthalmologist to hospital ER, because it was a Friday evening and they couldn't rule out something like a brain hemorrhage. Finally got my diagnosis from the ER doc at 3:00 a Saturday. He admitted it was the first time he'd done that in the ER before. Lactose intolerance and irritable bowel syndrome. Body hair where it ought not be. Zits. And random pains for no reason. I developed lactose intolerance about a year ago after I completely cut out dairy and reintroduced it. I can handle cheddar cheese. But anything else dairy brings on headaches. Bloating. Gurgling in my gut. The inability to actually poop it out for another 24 hours. But still having atrocious gas. Every time my stomach growls in a quiet classroom. Go to eat breakfast. I love eating apples, pears, and cherries until I became allergic at age 22. Mild symptoms including an itchy throat means it is no longer worth the taste. Sad times. Me too. It's called an oral allergy. I can't eat any fresh fruit with a core, apples and pears, or a bit, cherries, peaches, etc. Started at puberty with cherries and slowly the list grew over the years. It sucks because my symptoms aren't even that bad. But if you keep pushing it, your body can develop an anaphylactic response. Open bracket. At 21, I learned I am a literal mutant. But instead of it giving me cool superpowers, my body develops tumors. At some point during puberty my body decided it would be cool to grow extra thick hair on my butt cheeks. It was a dark and stormy day in 7th grade. The teacher reading off a list of names to see who presents next. She is getting closer and closer to my name and I am fighting to stay awake. Then I hear it. Severings use 691 please present your slideshow. I go up and start listening off facts of God knows what and then I notice. Everyone seems to be focusing on me and giggling. I look down and there it is. A boner. I thought how could I be betrayed by my own body? I'm a woman. And I have 3 man hairs that grow on my chin. They're what would be beard hair if I was a guy. I pull them out whenever I notice them but they keep coming back. Yup. Happened for me a few years ago. They just started growing in this little 3 hair cluster and I have to pluck them like every few days. I am fair skinned and these are coarse black hairs that really stand out and had never been there before. When it decided to piss my pants standing in front of a toilet. Years ago I went to this music festival with a lot of day drinking. As I was leaving I had to pee. But the porta potty lines were really long. So I decided to hold it in until I got back to my apartment. The train ride was fine for the most part. But by the time I got to my stop I had to go really bad. Still had a 10-minute walk to my apartment. But I figured I could make it if I just walked really fast. As I reach my front door I get a sense of relief that I made it. But I was really about to burst. So I hurried through and ran to the bathroom. I get there and as I'm unzipping my pants, My body decides it can't take it anymore, starts peeing. I was literally standing in front of my toilet and still managed to piss myself. Luckily there was nobody around. But I am still really embarrassed that happened to me. My wife asked me if I am interested in going to a HIIT session with her. I told her, please. That would be too easy for me. I was pretty dizzy after 17 minutes of HIIT. And she had to drive us home. Lol. I ran a marathon in January. Then I had a lazy quarantine thinking it would be like a fun 3-week lazy period, and it ended up being these like 9 months. Went for my first run since then last week and was truly on the ground winded after a mile and a half. Had a crush on a girl in JR. Hi. That summer I saw her at a lake. In a bikini. I was staring and she saw me and came over to say hello. Needless to say, my body betrayed me. In a very obvious way. To her credit, she played it off pretty well. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. My joints randomly dislocate. Just yesterday, I dislocated my sternum. Yes. That's a thing. Earlier this week, I subluxated my left shoulder and my left hip. On different instances. 25. I started throwing out my back to the point of not being able to walk frequently. I have moderate scoliosis. Chiropractors and weightlifting saved me, and now I'm better in my body at 34 than I was in my early 20s. Take care of your back and build strength, youths. Side note. If you're a woman who is insecure about your weight, just know that crash dieting will weaken you, and it's way worse on your joints to be weak than it is to be a little tubby but strong AF. Lifting won't bulk you without extraordinary effort. Of course a healthy weight is good. But don't mistake thinness above all else with health or happiness. That feeling when you're so tired that you can't get comfortable and you just spent a few hours rolling around going MRRRMPH. HRRRRNG. MRARR. Double quote. When I got a blood clot in my ovarian vein and ended up on blood thinners, which caused me to bleed too much, made me seriously anemic, and eventually led to hysterectomy. Feels strange to upvote in this discussion. Just to be clear, my upvote means wow, that's a powerful betrayal by your body and I admire you for dealing with it. It's praise for the poster, not the poster's issue. Thought I needed to say that. My ex wanted me to CM on her face and how she was kneeling. Her facial expression gave me the feeling she was in slight pain, and I ended up losing my erection entirely and couldn't get it back up. I have hyperhidrosis of the scalp and face. Means I sweat profusely at the slightest change of temp. Hate it. I don't know if that's what I have, but as the sweatiest person I know, I might. I hate winters because you go from cold to warm temps, and that plus the layers of clothing makes me sweat profusely. I live in Nick and take the subway, and summers suck too because by the time I walk to the subway, my body's warmed up from the walk, and then the subway platform's 10 degrees warmer, which makes me sweat profusely. I have a horrible tendency to shitty when I am stressed. I played in a rugby 10s tournament where I had 5 matches a day and I shat my brains out before every match. This has never left me. My first job in a new country was in a call center. I was wearing my shitty suit and walked into the lobby. The first step, I let out a fart. It was not a fart. Fuck. I ignore the receptionist saying hello and find a loo on the right. My pants heavy. I stumble over. ID pants myself and take off my shitty heavy underwear. There is a ledge above the bog, so I put my sodden underwear on the ledge. Head out to deal with the dehumanizing experience that is a call center. The day went well, with my member chaffing on my cheap suit pants. I remembered to go collect my shame in the loo, but alas, some poor bastard beat me to it. When I was at the dentist to extract my wisdom teeth, I got so nervous during the procedure, even though there was no pain due to the anesthetics, that my legs started shaking uncontrollably. It was very embarrassing. Had mine removed a couple years ago. They gave me laughing gas, but it barely had any effect. The anesthetics made it painless, but I could feel them pushing and pulling, and hear the crunching. When my immune system thought it was cool to tell my pancreas to stop producing insulin. Pre-puberty and during I was pretty athletic. I was a great swimmer who was able to rake in medal and ribbons everywhere for everything. Post-puberty my athletic ability disappeared. It was pretty disheartening. First time I read something similar to me. I used to be able to run such long distance and feeling just fine. Then came puberty and in literally a year I lost so much skill. Like, I was exercising and all. Never changed anything like you did. But somehow I was exhausted AF and unable to run the distance that weren't a problem before. Though I became fast AF now and I can run fast AF on a pretty long distance. But somehow normal speed is a no-no for my brain. Having a hide and seek Nerf game with friends. I am in the basement behind the shelf. All of the sudden I'll let out the loudest, longest, smelliest fart I have ever had. They heard. I lost. When I went from a kind of active child that loved going outside to pain-filled days with health issues and hating going outside because it makes everything worse. I'm lucky to have a manageable day where I can get on my phone or even listen to music for a little while. It developed the world's fastest metabolism. Can eat as much crap and fast food that I want to in a day and either lose weight or stay the same. Been 113 pounds at 5 feet 8 for a while. 17M. There are ways to gain weight. A friend of mine in high school was like that. He added a gallon of milk a day mixed with protein powder. Also had a whole pizza with meat with olive oil poured over it. In addition to 3 meals a day. He started to weight and he went from like 120 pounds to about 175 over 3 years. Age 15-18. The day I was born. It's only gone downhill from there. 17 years and 5 surgeries later and I've still got a FCK ton of shit wrong with my body. On Monday when I lifted my 105 pounds Lab St. Bernard mix into the back of my truck. Along with his 80-pound sister. Come to think of it. That may actually be when I betrayed my body. Never really betrayed me so much as never let me have expectations in the first place. But my biggest irritation was when my thyroid issue worsened to the point where it FK'd with my blood pressure causing me to have trouble properly regulating my body temperature. Not the end of the world but I had to stop jogging outdoors because the cool air resistance from my running in combination with my stretched breathing was enough to cause my body temperature to drop drastically 5 minutes into a run. And that's after my knee issues forced me to give up on sprinting and intense aerobic exercise. Halfway down a run while snowboarding. My legs decided that nope, we are too tired to finish this last run and buckled. Hurt like a BTCH falling and I still had to get the rest of the way down the mountain and back to my car. I cried a bit and my BF told me that we could walk. But it would suck way more than riding. One morning I woke up and had lost control of my eyes. Each eye was doing its own thing. I got to spend 3 days in the hospital. Have a CT scan, an MRI, and a visit with a specialist to have everyone shrug at me. Eventually they settled down on their own and are working together as a team again. I turned 29 this year. A few weeks ago, I noticed that getting up in the middle of the night to pee is a nightly occurrence. Since then, I've tried limiting my water consumption 30 minutes before bed. Then an hour. Now an hour and a half. I still get up in the middle of the night to pee no matter what. I developed stomach ulcers pretty much out of nowhere. They came and went for about 2 months. And would only last for about a day. It was the worst pain I've ever experienced. It kept me up all night sometimes and I spent over 6 hours at the hospital each time I went. It has slowly started to betray me with weak joints, banana allergy, eczema and sudden loss of feeling in my hands. That also makes me drop things, all at the young age of 27. But it has been like this for the last 5+ years. Can't imagine what my body will be like in my 80s. Around 2nd grade I got insomnia and maintained it until high school. Now my body is dependent on the amount of sleep my medication allows and I can't seem to change my sleeping habits without it. I developed asthma. Also when I've had to draw blood from someone as part of my training. My hands decide to shake horribly. I get nervous, but I've always had a successful draw without damaging the patient's arm. I'm not scared of needles or blood or having my own blood drawn. But I just can't control the shaking when I go to collect a blood specimen. I have no issues when giving injections. Even intradermal, which can be tricky. I had a hernia in my belly button. It's pretty common in men and I'm not the first in my family to have one. I was never small, but I wasn't severely overweight either. Months of sitting around. Not being able to lift until surgery. Then more months of not moving or lifting after the surgery. I'm getting my weight back down, but it's slow and hard. At 28 now. And I can feel my kneecaps starting to feel pained. Nearly to the point I might have them hurting soon, like it does for my mother, sister and best friend. Also, whenever I try to stretch, my leg cramps up from it. At 25 years old, I had my first ever seizure. It was a 10-minute grand mal seizure. In a restaurant. No less. Almost 14 years later. Numerous med combos. Dozens of seizures. Side effects. And a brain surgery later. No answers. It sucks to know there is no cure. Side effects are monstrous. And people don't understand BC. You don't look sick. But after they hear the words epilepsy or seizure disorder, let me tell you. You've never seen people run so fast. However, I am currently 23 months seizure free on my current med combo. I have maintained my career successfully over the last 16 years and I am going back for my second master's degree program in January. Halloween 2014. Felt great. Getting ready to go to work when suddenly I'm puking. Puke for 3 days. Have been nauseous for 6 years now. Waves of intensity. But it's never gone. About 4x a year. I have 3-day-long puke fests. Randomly throw up. 2. Wear a transderm patch and a relief band all day. Every day. To be minimally functional. Survive on ginger ale. I don't even like ginger ale. Combo. And my body won't tell the doctors what the hell is wrong with me. So no diagnosis. On the plus side, if you need some tricks for calming down nausea, please ask. I know them all. A year ago I had a slight head cold and flew home for Christmas. My ear was clogged and wouldn't pop. I landed and still couldn't get it to pop. 3 specialist visits later. They're like, yeah, something is messed up but we don't know how to fix it. Living with an ear that won't pop is a special kind of hell. I can do neti pots or have a great yawn where it will be clear for a couple seconds but then it just closes again. Interestingly, while I was still in the womb. Allow me to explain. Back in 2008, I was diagnosed with a rare type of testicular tumor called a germ cell yolk sac tumor. It started on my right testicle while I was still in the womb. After developing a short time, it broke off and migrated to a new location in me. As this type of tumor does. After going dormant, it stays that way for decades. Mine stayed shut down for around 30 years. Only when it started to grow and grew through my vena cava did I finally notice and go to get it checked out. Surgery to have it removed from 22 hours. With 3 doctors and 2 shifts of nurses working on me. I lost a section of my vena cava. Both kidneys. And my legs. But I'm still here and kicking ass as a cyborg.